Hey friends, Alvin here. Welcome to our March monthly Zoom meeting. And this month's topic is how to develop student leaders. I am very honored and pleased to have Monica Kay, who is the director of 321 Launch, has done a bunch of other stuff. Like she's been with Athletes in Action and done student leadership development there. She's also soon to be, hopefully one day, Dr. Kay at one point. She can expand a little bit more on that later if she'd like. But also she is married to Greg and they have two wonderful kids and she is part of the Spring Garden community. And so Monica, welcome here today.
Thank you all. I'm thrilled to be here. Alvin, thanks for asking. And about the whole doctor thing, I've got the entire degree to do. So it's far off, just entering into studying leadership in ministry at Tyndale soon. So that's my next adventure. But today you have invited me to share about leadership development, which is something that's quite passionate in my heart, both for youth and young adults. And I am aware that all of you who might be listening may be in very different stages with whether you have a leadership movement, whether you don't, if you're thinking about it. So I'm hoping what I share this evening will apply in kind of whatever stage you're at, just adapt it to that. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen here. I'm a big fan of the top 10. So that is what I've done. I've got about 10 minutes with you and I've got 10 tips for leadership development and building a leadership team within your students. So the first one is to reflect and pray. This is a given, but whether you already have a group of leaders or you're thinking about it for next year, spend some time just asking God, are you sensing that this is the step you're to take? And if yes, how is the Lord leading you in this process? Are you going to invite your entire youth group to be a part of it? Are you thinking there's a select few that you feel would be really good to invest in at this time? Or is it a combination? I'm going to revisit this, but are there other people that you could invite to join you on this journey? So take some time to reflect and pray. And what comes out of that usually is that you also start thinking about your desired outcomes. So what at the end of this year or this time of investment, what spiritual, character, and leadership growth do you hope to see in your youth? Is it something like a greater trust in Jesus, more confidence, more joy in service? It could be really practical, like better time management or how you lead a meeting. Prayerfully discern some of these outcomes. Now, if it's appropriate and if it's possible, and depending on what stage you're at, it can be really fruitful to spend some time with the young leaders in your program. What are their hopes? What are their expectations? Where do they want to grow? As you discuss this with them, it helps increase ownership in the whole experience and process. Next is quite obvious. Make a plan. All right. I like that. Keep calm and make a plan. So once you have your desired outcomes, brainstorm and plan ways to actually cultivate your youth to grow in those areas. Think about really practical things like how often will you meet? I would say where, but currently it's on Zoom. But what will you discuss? What will you experience? Is there anything you can do together or ways to serve? Think about books. Is there a book you want to go through? A book of the Bible? What's an event they can plan? Just start your planning. And of course, this is going to continue throughout the process. One thing that's key as you make this plan is that you have clear expectations of what you're hoping or what you're expecting from these young leaders. And you need to make sure you have clearly communicated those expectations. So think about what that looks like. Is that a contract? Is it a document? Is it a conversation? Is it feedback? So think about that element as well, because you and the young leaders need to be on the same page about this experience. Another element, and this may come later or earlier, different phases. These aren't perfectly sequential, is be intentional about group vision and group culture. What's this group going to be like? What are you hoping for? Some of this may stem from your desired outcomes, but I would recommend, as much as possible, involve the youth and your co-leaders in this process. And I know Hannah Fairbanks in the CBOQ youth family has done this, so feel free to reach out to her for some tips. But think together, what kind of atmosphere do we want together, guys? What do we want this group to be? And what is our goal? What is our vision? Where are we going from A to B? So that is it. Make a plan. Now, next, invite others to join you. This point may come way earlier, but some people actually want to know what you're inviting them to. So that's why I've put it here. So you may have had to do some planning before you invite leaders, and other leaders are ready to be like, sure, I'm in, I'll plan with you. So this may happen at any stage for you. But you don't have to do this alone. So who else can help? Mentor the youth, cheer them on. Who can invest? Who can give you a cottage for your group retreat? Who can come speak or help create culture? As you build a team, you're actually modeling leadership well for your young leaders. And this flows into the next one, which is next, network and resource. Who else besides your church can invest in these young leaders? What conferences would be great to attend? What LIT programs? I mean, you've got Camp Quasin right there with the CBOQ, but there are other camps as well. Are there service projects that you can go on that someone else leads, other experts? I know Youth Unlimited, I work for Youth Unlimited, so I will say them a bunch, but they have Project Serve, where they lead youth groups to serve downtown. Or Launch, my program. You can go to lots of others, but just so you know, kids can get a grade 11 credit. And actually, even if they're like, well, I'm part of my leadership team at my church and I got to lead this event, well, that can be part of what they do for their Launch credit. Or there's Leadership 360s, or in Etobicoke, if you're in that area, there's a resource there. So there's so many things, but this can boost what you're doing. Or if you don't feel like you have capacity right now to do a huge leadership development in your youth group, you don't have to do it all on your own, but you can still take a time to say to these 5 kids, hey, I think this is worth your time and effort, and you're still making an influence on them. Next, may seem sort of obvious, but actually allow your students to lead. Make it for real. The kids can tell when it's for real or not for real. So where can they serve others in your youth group, in your church, or beyond? Make sure they feel supported and encouraged, but let them go for it. You could use the classic method of I do, you watch. We do it together. You do, I watch. You can do things like that, but just pay attention to the youth. They're going to need different things for more confidence or a bit more equipping. Some of them may have never prayed out loud, whatever it might be. Look at their individual gifts and passions. And if you can get them to serve in those areas, that is phenomenal. Don't set them up for failure by just tossing them out there, but let them have space to try things and do things, even if it's not how you would do it, which can be hard at times. And this leads to number 7, which is allow space for failure. I like that quote. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. This process does need grace and patience. Let's be honest. It's going to happen. Someone won't show up, or another person won't follow through, or at some point a half effort will be made, or best effort will be made, but there's still a flop. Now, this could be from the youth, could be from the co-leaders, could be from you or me. But it's okay. We need to model how to navigate failure and grace and reevaluation. And just remember that growth takes time, right? And you're helping them set roots that go deep. This leads to number 8, which is evaluate and celebrate. So really it could be 8, 9, but we're making it 1. It's a great idea to halfway or even quarterly to pause and evaluate how things are going. Give feedback and get feedback. We just did this in our Launch Leadership course recently, and we got some great ideas on how to improve the leadership course. It's really valuable. Celebrate. I do this personality assessment called Berkman, and a lot of people in ministry are really motivated to serve team, but deep down, they still need their individual efforts acknowledged. And that's just how we're created, or many of us are created. So I just encourage you to take the time to celebrate the growth, the little things, the big things. This is really important. Also, on a more personal or individual note, provide some space for the young leaders to reflect. This might not be natural for some of them to create that space on their own. So kind of help them with that. What did they learn from the thing that they just led? What went well? What could be a bit better next time? Another thing is maybe letting them go through a form of the prayer of examine. You can Google that if you aren't familiar with it, but it might just shed light on what they've grown and where they experienced God in the process, which leads me to number 9. Ultimately, we want to be pointing them to Christ and helping them experience God as they learn how to lead and they're in this community. As I know you're likely aware, hemorrhaging faith and the studies afterward pointed that authentic relationships and authentic experiences of God were key to helping young people stay in their faith, especially in points of transition. So here, as you're investing in this leadership team, you have a beautiful opportunity for these students to experience both. There is no doubt they're going to face insecurities, doubts, question their ability to lead, and so on. This is a beautiful moment to remind them that their worth and their identity are actually not in their leadership, but it's in Christ, and that He will sustain them and love them as they serve and lead and as they rest. This is a lesson I think maybe all of us need. I know I need this, and this reminder again. Why not start pouring that into the young leaders now? And finally, chapter 10 or point 10, it might feel like chapter, hopefully not, but believe in them, be their cheerleader. And I'm just going to share a bit of a personal story, because I actually at launch, this is what we do. We come along young people and we cheer them on. And occasionally, I don't know about you, but you kind of forget whether this matters or not, or the impact of it. And a few years ago, I did a bike ride to raise funds for launch. And I think it was 50 miles. Now, for those of you who might know my brother, Scott, or my other brother, Greg, they're like semi-pro cyclists. They're like legit. I am not. Okay. 50 miles is the longest I'd ever ridden in my whole life, and I've never ridden it again. And this is really hilly in Collingwood. And my one friend with those cute little kids there, they're like, after you pass us, it's the last hill. Well, she was wrong. There was, I think, an 11-kilometer climb. Okay. And I had made the personal goal. I wanted to, anyways, I didn't want my brother to pass me, and he started like hours earlier. But also, and he was doing 100 miles, I just should say. But I also did not want to stop. I did not want to stop. And in this 11-kilometer hill towards the end, I was really close. And this happened.
This is hard. You got it. Right beside me. We got you. And I got my purse. Oh, thank you for that. You can do it, Mama. We love you. Good timing. I was like, when are you gonna stop? You got this. You got this, Mama.
So I just share that is like not attractive. People are passing me, but I did not stop. And I literally was about to unclick my foot from the bike shoe and put it down. And they just happened to come by at that moment. Because of their cheering, I made it the whole way to the end of the race. And so I say this, when you are walking alongside these student leaders, this is an investment in their now and in their future, right? This is a long-term vision. You're investing in the next generation of leaders. And your cheering on of them will truly make a difference. And it will be remembered possibly more than any other lesson that you give. So go for it and enjoy. And to close, please let me know if there's any way that Launch can come alongside you and help you. That's our website. And we coach young leaders and we coach young adults. And if you want a conversation about this, I would be happy to have a chat with you. We have a Leadership 360 that's available, and of course a grade 11 credit, and we do workshops. It's a bit different in Zoom land these days, but if we can serve you, please let us know. So blessings as you invest in the next generation.
Well, thanks, Monica, for that top 10 list. That's been very helpful. And hopefully it will spark some conversation for our churches and youth ministries as they consider ways to either start or even improve and supplement what they're doing for student leadership development. I just want to let you know that in April, on Monday, April the 12th, we have Paul Lamb, who's part of our CBOQ staff, and we'll be looking at what does it mean to have soul care in youth ministry. And so we encourage you to look at that. Also check out the primer for this particular workshop, as well as the other ones we've done. You can find it all at cboq.ca/monthlyzoom. So blessings to you.